allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma.
Here.
Jurdy.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier.
Here.
Plot. Menard.
Here.
Okay, we have oath of office tonight. Darren, police officer.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to introduce our most recent addition to the Crookston Police Department, Officer Robert Haugen. Robert grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, later moved to Fosston, Minnesota, where he graduated high school. Robert attended Northland Community Technical College in Beaver Falls, where he earned his associate's degree in criminal justice. Robert comes to us with 3 years of law enforcement experience, ranging from corrections, dispatching, and most recent as a parole officer. Robert lives in Crookston and is excited to continue his career with the Crookston Police Department. Robert, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. As a police officer with the Crookston Police Department,
As a police officer with the Crookston Police Department,
I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution
to uphold the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to impartially enforce
to impartially enforce
the laws of the United States,
the laws of the United States,
the state of Minnesota,
the state of Minnesota,
and the city of Crookston,
and the city of Crookston,
to work toward providing a safe environment
to work towards providing a safe environment
and enhancing the quality of life
and enhancing the quality of life
consistent with the values
consistent with the values
of our community,
of our community,
to adhere to the ethical values
to adhere to the ethical values
of professionalism,
of professionalism,
integrity,
integrity,
compassion,
compassion,
and respect,
and respect,
to faithfully discharge
to faithfully discharge
the duties of a police officer
the duties of a police officer
to the best of my knowledge and abilities,
to the best of my knowledge and abilities,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
and without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation.
Congratulations and welcome to the Crookston Police Department. Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you. Welcome, Robert.
Welcome. Welcome, Robert.
Okay, this time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the council on any issue not on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Hearing none from the chamber, any,
Your Honor.
oops, I'm sorry.
Robbie Steinbrink, 22647, 210th Avenue Southwest, Crookston, Minnesota. I would like to know what the current status of the former bus garage is.
Greg, can you address? Please, you gotta come up to podium, please.
Yeah, we put out a permit, let's see, March 20th of 24, based on our city council meeting and our discussion regarding it. They have until September 30th, I believe, for the 6 months that we had talked about.
Yeah.
And basically, I've not heard hardly anything from the owner regarding any further construction as of this time. That's all I have to report on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Robin, are you aware that they're working with an architect about the structural soundness of that building?
Am I aware of what?
That they're working with an architect about the structural soundness of that building?
Ever since 2021, we've been working with that now.
Well, they've had the architect in here, and we've given them 6 months to reevaluate that and to bring to our attention whether or not they can actually build that out or it needs to be.
Okay, so you issued a building permit,
I did.
but you've not received the engineering plan yet?
I did receive an I did receive an engineering plan. That was what it was based upon for the base, for the posts and pillars and the foundation. For the support of the wall, exterior walls. But beyond that, there's a few sistering and structural items that they had listed on there. Beyond that, that was the engineering report. It was not a comprehensive rebuild, let's put it that way. But it was based upon the engineer's opinion that it would be a structurally sound.
Now, what was the amount of the permit that was issued? Dollar amount?
I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
$40,000 was the valuation for that work. That's in labor and material.
Okay. Where are we at with the property maintenance code? What do I have to do for you to basically do your job in the city? For the maintenance code, right, there was a form that was filled out,
As far as,
there's a complaint form that backs up the property maintenance code.
What are you looking for in the property maintenance code?
How
Basically,
about enforcement of it, Your Honor?
we've issued the permit, and he's got until September to have it complete. And from there, we move forward with our next step according to what Greg's recommendations are.
Okay, so can you tell me why it took 34 months and 8 days?
No, I cannot.
I would say there's a little bit of COVID going around for one thing. I was new, not experienced with code violations per se. I would just say that in general, I was hoping for owner cooperation in getting that building up, well, better structurally sound, more structurally sound. And it took council action to enforce that.
Greg reached out to him many times because I had conversations with Greg regarding the old bus garage. And Greg had tried to reach out to him many times, being patient, and he wouldn't return his call. And I feel that Greg had done his due diligence on trying to get to where we're at today.
But if Greg would have done his due diligence, the complaint form filled out on 9/1 of 2021, right? Addressing this same property, right? And then you go to the building, right, you get the terminology right here. The property maintenance code, you have 1 year to do it. You want the section number on the property code?
We can discuss that afterwards, I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so then why was that not enforced? Per your ordinances, this is all from you guys. I don't know why you have ordinances if you don't enforce them.
I'll agree with you on that one. I guess at this point, we have moved forward with this building, so until,
So then, what ordinance did you use when you enforced it on the late Eric Rudnick on his building? What code was that?
I don't have that information in front of me, I could go look it up.
Okay,
We can discuss it or look.
Okay,
to see
well,
what
can
that
you get
specific.
back to me on that one?
I can.
Right, so what I don't understand is how, in one instance, you summons him, he comes here, he does his due diligence, he did what he was supposed to, partially. And then the next one is nothing's done. For
We're-
34 months.
We are moving forward with it.
Okay, but if you would have followed the ordinance, it would have given your city attorney the grounds to move forward on this. You know, you sit there and you swear in a new police officer and you talk about public safety. Mike Job's own contractor back in, what? 8/6 of 2021, before the second bid went out from the school district to be removed. His own contractor that he hired said it should not be occupied.
I would discuss that. Again, this is an engineer's opinion that it could be reinforced and made up to code. I realize that was 21, that's correct. But, you know, I did not enforce it up until this city council meeting in February, I believe it was. And we were just trying to discuss it and try to get this resolved.
So basically, when you talked to me on 1/5 of 2024 at 9:21 p.m., right? You said that Corky, Dale, and yourself had decided to pursue legal action. What was that legal action?
I'm not a legal lawyer, I probably shouldn't use
Tanner.
legal action. I
I
probably
think
should
Tanner
say-
should come address that.
They got letters,
I'm sorry.
Tanner.
Tanner should come address that.
Excuse me.
So the legal action that we pursued at that time is we called it for a public hearing, and we were saying that this building needs to be fixed. Before we can order anything to be done, it has to go to the council in an evidentiary hearing sort of format, and then they make their determination that one, the building is unsafe or uninhabitable. Two, they're supposed to give a period of time for them to fix the property or make it habitable. And then three, if they don't, we're allowed to go forward at that point, which it requires us to file a lawsuit with the courts, and go through that whole process. A lot of the questions you brought about, you know, delays and that sort of thing, going through this process, it costs a lot of money to pursue court actions and try to reclaim property and tear down buildings. It is not inexpensive, it costs money and it's a long process, just like any court proceeding you would typically go through, it can take years.
Yep, and I understand that, but if the ordinance would have been followed, right? The first citation, the second citation, and the third citation, per your property code, right? That would have given you the grounds to backfill him for that, to where it wouldn't have been a burden for the taxpayers. And the point being is you spend all this time and money on ordinances, you put it in place, and then on this instance, it doesn't get followed.
I'll agree with you on ordinance. I've been talking about ordinance for many years, that we have all these ordinances and we don't enforce them. So it's something that council will be taking a look at our ordinance. It's been brought up, but that's a time-consuming issue, looking through all our ordinance. I agree with you.
Well, the ordinance was already made, Your Honor.
I agree with you.
So all you had to do was have your department head through whatever chain of command you have, is to follow the ordinance that the taxpayers spent money on developing.
I get that, and right now, everything that is done prior to when council gave them 6 months to fix this building to code. I get your frustration, it's water under the bridge at that point. Moving forward, we've gave Mr. Job 6 months to get that building in compliance.
Have you restricted any movement in and out of the building?
That I don't know.
No, we have not, because again, that was an engineer's opinion that it was not structurally unsafe. It was structurally solid enough for work to be performed.
So, you back in 2020, you have a report from the fire department that it was not safe, right?
I believe you're correct.
Okay, so how many more reports do you need saying that it's unsafe and then
Here's
it
what I,
isn't safe?
here's what I would say about that. It's an opinion based on experience, and a structural engineer with experience has far more knowledge than I do. Whether it's me or a fire department, I'm not saying we're without knowledge, but based on his opinion, his engineering report, he said it was solid enough that it should not be a safety issue.
So which time was that?
The most recent, when he came in and met with us.
That's correct.
Right, because the first engineering report, he said it should not be occupied at this time. That was back on 8/6 of 21. Same firm?
No, that was a separate firm, a different firm came in.
Okay, well, we'll have to get some data releases and get you spun up there on what you've done and where we're headed.
Robin, you have a minute remaining left for your allotted time for the Crookston.
Excuse me?
You have a minute remaining for your allotted time for your Crookston form, so.
Of course, there's full parliamentary procedure on me.
Well, that's.
Okay, you know, it's very unfortunate that the business that this gentleman is in, he works closely with EMS, right? Ambulance, fire, police, but yet, due to you guys not doing your job, you allow this hazard to exist.
The truth.
You have 2 daycares that were within a block of there. If you can tell me when that building's gonna collapse, I hope the heck it doesn't. But it's a hazard to all of our EMS and our first responders and the general public. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the chambers? Hearing none, anybody on the phone bridge?
Over to the phone bridge, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, no presentations. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add anything to tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Your Honor.
Thank you,
I'll second that.
Don and Clayton. Thank you. Discussion?
Can I just ask why the agenda items for Ways and Means aren't like financial related? I thought that we were utilizing Ways and Means for just financial discussions and it's not on the original agenda.
We wanted to have a discussion on all of those items tonight,
Okay,
where there were no resolutions in front of you to decide, but to have a general discussion, and that was the most appropriate without resolutions.
so you can't just discuss agenda items?
You can, but they're usually brought forth in a resolution format. You can put it on for discussion, or we just use the Ways and Means as that forum.
Okay, I thought that we had tried to go away from utilizing
We
Ways and
had
Means.
tried to do that, but these items were of necessity important to do now, to get your consensus
Sure.
on what you want to do.
Okay.
Exactly.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hima? Aye. Jurdy?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
Briggs?
Aye.
Cavalier?
Aye.
Menard?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Your Honor, under item 7.06, the resolution regarding the special event permit request for the Fiesta de Crookston, at the end of the resolution, be it further resolved, the original resolution stated no mobile food unit operations in the city of Crookston. That should be changed to the mobile food unit under operation. I changed that and added that up to the amended agenda online, so everybody can view that.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was a grammatical error, which was a double negative, so it would have meant that they would have been charged, but the mobile food unit here tomorrow, with the correction, will not be charged.
Good. That's good.
Can I have a motion to approve tonight's
So
consent
moved.
agenda? Thank you,
I'll
Tim.
second.
Second by Henry, thank you. Roll call, please.
Hidma. Aye. Jurdy.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, no public hearing. Brings us to reports. Corky.
Yes, I was on vacation last week, so it's not as much as normal, but attended a number of meetings with our city attorney regarding the alcohol ordinance you'll be discussing tonight. We had more than one meeting regarding payroll and the assignment of duties for payroll in the upcoming future, about who will assume what duties. We will have best practices commenced in terms of having multiple eyes on payroll. We also had a meeting with the League of Minnesota representative about loss control here, what we can do better. We have a very good record, but there were always discussions about what we can do better in terms of workplace injuries and reporting. Also, we had a number of meetings with CLA and how our financial reports are coming and our audit reports. And I'm sure Michelle will update you on those, but we have almost daily meetings on that. And we had a meeting with Jason Carlson regarding the potential donation of the building one block south of us. And I think we've worked that out, and we're gonna reduce that to writing. Number of discussions with Darren regarding animal control, and you saw the product of that coming forward tonight. And then the alcohol ordinance meetings again with Ashley, Tanner, and myself. Just a language that's appropriate, consistent with what you asked us to do, and also the practical implications of that, as there are a number of different permits that are not in our present ordinance, who will handle those and how they will be handled on a daily basis. So that's it for me.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, as far as like your succession documentation, since I'm assuming this is gonna be your last meeting, since Jeff will be the new city administrator?
Well, Jeff and I have met. We're gonna continue to meet this week. We're going over items. He's making his notes about what he will be doing in terms of how he'll address council, the items that are most prevalent on our moving forward. We're doing that for this week. And then next week we'll flip.
Okay, and so then is Jeff's first official day the 15th then?
No, we're going to be bringing forward a resolution next meeting, asking that it be amended to the 8th.
Okay, and so then where's the cutoff date for your last day?
My last date would be
The
a
15th.
week from this Friday.
Okay, wonderful. We're excited to have you on, Jeff. Thank you.
Okay, Shane, anything?
I just wanted to thank Chuck, Brandon, and their public works and finance crews. You guys have known with the weather that we've had, river has been fluctuating. I think it's just very nice to understand that we do have employees that have been out there when the river gets up to be able to monitor everything that we've got going on, whether it's closing storm gate valves, watching, operating pumps. Very good communication with those guys, so it's fantastic. Makes my job a little easier, so it was really nice. So I just want to thank them for that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Brandon?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Greg?
No report, Your Honor.
Jake?
No report, Your Honor.
Gary?
No report, Your Honor.
Darren?
As you all have heard or read in the media, last Sunday morning, June 30th, the Crookston Police Department was involved in a critical force incident or officer-involved shooting. We had 2 Crookston police officers involved in the incident. Their names will be released in the coming days. Both officers used force in a manner to stop a significant threat to the public and officers. One officer has been placed on critical incident leave. Immediately following the incident, We requested the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Forced Investigation Unit to investigate this incident. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will be presenting their completed investigation to the Polk County Attorney's Office for review. We're working closely with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the city and county attorneys, the city administrator, and the family of the deceased. We're also working closely with the officers involved to make sure they're receiving the care they need to cope with the outcome of this critical incident. This incident remains ongoing, active criminal investigation, so I will not be able to answer many questions, if any. However, I can assure council that we are and will continue to follow and meet state requirements set forth by Minnesota statute to include releasing the body-worn camera footage to the public by the end of this week. So unless there's any questions, that's all I have for tonight.
Is the Karen Sheriff's open at this point?
I believe they are. I think they were temporarily closed while we were doing the preliminary investigation, but.
She posted on Facebook, they're closed for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so they're still closed then.
Okay, I was just wondering, I drove by there today, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Darren.
Key in anything tonight?
Evening, everybody. I wasn't able to attend last city council meeting, but I had Corky mention that I was working on getting our new communication out there, or communication service out there called Notify Me, and I just wanted to touch on that a little bit more. So we currently have a pop-up right now on the City of Crookston website that we have currently on the monitors right now, where you'll be able to sign up to receive notifications from things like community updates from the different department heads. So that's available to all the citizens of Crookston. So if you actually click on that there, that'll redirect you to the Notify Me page. So basically, once you click through there, you'll be able to create a Notify Me account and then be able to receive either email or text communications for a variety of different topics. So things like the Agenda Center, where you can receive direct email or text communications about city council agendas. We also have the Alert Center, where we have different departments set up. So like Parks and Recreation, you'll be able to receive direct communications from the different department heads. I still need to sit down with all the department heads to be able to show them how to utilize that. But you know, with the 4th of July holiday, I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but I'm gonna be working on that and getting in touch with everybody this week. Excuse me. We also have like the calendar on there to be able to receive updates on when things like city council meetings are gonna be happening. We also have things like our news flash, where you'll be able to receive news communications from the city of Crookston as well. Trying to think if there is, you know, I had something on the top of my head, but I was trying to remember it. Generally speaking, again, it's just a way for us to be able to communicate with our residents outside of primarily Facebook has been used up until this point. So we're rolled that out here before the 4th of July holiday, and that's up and functional right now for anybody that would like to subscribe for anything that they're interested in receiving communication about. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to take them, but.
Will you guys be doing any type of campaign to get that information out to the residents?
Yeah, so I'm working with the department heads right now. We actually have a department head meeting tomorrow morning. That was something that I was gonna discuss with them. I haven't had a chance to utilize it a ton. We only implemented it like basically right before the 4th of July holiday, and I've had a couple of communications go out for a couple of community events, and like this morning we had one coming out for the meeting today. So I'm still gonna be working on that to work with the department heads to talk about how we can best get that information out there to let people know that the service is free and available.
It would be really nice if you could like create a QR code to that. And I also wonder if it's like, we can hit up some of the community events to like have a table, like kind of getting the word out about that would be really helpful. I'm thinking of like 1990, so it might be like a good one to start out.
That'll be August, and then yeah, we also have like Fiesta Day Crookston. That would be a really quick
That's
turnaround for
tomorrow.
that, but I can try and figure it out.
If you can, that'd be
Just get a
great.
table with a piece of paper handwritten on it.
No, I should definitely look into that, because that's a quick turnaround, but just speaking on Fiesta Day Crookston as well, that's just something I had mentioned on there. You know, I've been talking with Shirley over the DCDP, and you know, they do a really great job with putting on different community events for Crookston, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. So that's gonna be going on tomorrow night from 4 to 8:30 on 2nd Street in the parking lot down there. So just wanted to give them a shout out, and feel free to come out. So there's gonna be some really great entertainment going on down there. Also, within the past couple weeks, I've been working with the Public Works Department with a garbage collection survey, and we've seen some really great results back from it. We, as of this morning, have about over 450 unique responses back. We started going through some of the responses this morning, and I can have Chuck, touch on that a little bit more as far as the actual preliminary results up until this point. But we're still gonna be running that survey through August 1st here. We have a representative from the Parks and Rec Department who's gonna be at the transfer station, I believe Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for about a 2-hour period. It ranges from like 9 to 11 or like 2 to 4, depending on the day. We have a post going out tomorrow morning that lays out all those times, but if people wanna, just happen to stop by and wanna pick up a physical copy, they're able to do that. We still also have it available online as well, and copies available at City Hall as well.
Are you guys tracking where the responses are coming from? Like, because I wonder if your data is being skewed if you're at the transfer station, because those who are going to the transfer station obviously are taking their own trash. So I'm just curious if like you guys are separating or understanding like how many of those individuals that you're getting data from are actually there at the transfer station versus individuals who are just like doing it online or what have you?
Well, so actually, we haven't started collecting any answers yet from the transfer station, so all of those results have been purely people who have come across the QR code online or people that have filled out the online forms. We do have about 10 of those that are from people that happen to stop into City Hall and fill out the survey, but throughout the next month here, we'll actually have like almost like a separate data collection of people who specifically go to the transfer station.
Yeah, that might be helpful just to better understand where those individuals are coming from.
Yeah. And that's all I got.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Chuck, please.
All right, good evening. Yeah, just to go a little bit more on the garbage survey there. Kelsey is out at the transfer station. She was out there 2 days, last week. And we are gonna keep those ones separate. We've also set up a survey bin, I guess you could say, at Golden Link with some hard copies there for the people who go there, if they don't wanna be using their technology, their cell phones or iPads, they can just fill it out there, drop it off in the bin. And I will be swinging by at the end of the week to pick those up and then turn them into Keenan. So far, we are 43% of people who have taken the survey have said yes to paying more if the city is able to provide a better service, a better bin service, garbage collecting service. However, 96% of the people who took the survey bring items to the transfer station. 36% say yes to having the bin service, 25% say no, and then the rest are maybe undecided.
I don't think that surprises me about people going to the transfer station. Just, I've talked to a lot of people, and 100% of the people I've talked to say they go to the transfer station, and 100% of them say they hate going to the transfer station.
Right.
So I don't think just because they use the transfer station means that is their their preferred method to do it.
Yeah, the one drawback we have with the transfer station, we were told that our employee working out there can't be out there Mondays or Fridays, because those are the busiest days out at the transfer station. I guess Mondays are open till 7 PM. So just for her safety, cars flying in, payloaders moving around, they've asked that she just stay out of there Mondays and Fridays, so we won't have those people. But our biggest age range for taking the survey is 30 to 44-year-olds. Yeah, so we're gonna leave it out until the beginning of August. We're hoping to get a lot more. We're gonna re-advertise on all the social medias. And we're sending Kelsey out there different hours of the day. I think, let's see here. So for this week, she'll be out there from 9 to 11. The following week, 8 to 10. The week after, 1 to 3, and then the week after that, 2 to 4. So we're just trying to get as much data as we can from different times of the day, make sure we get a wide variety of people who go out there whenever they can.
Would it be also a thought of maybe sending people or her, again, we'd have to talk to the organizations, but maybe like a Hugo's or a Walmart, and just, I mean, obviously preference, do you live in Crookston, because I don't want us.
Oh, sure, right.
I'm just thinking of other places that we could get contact with people.
Yep, we did go around. I do have the flyers at the Polk County Building, Hugo's, I believe Walmart, and then there is, I wanna say it's one of the gas stations in town, forgetting off the top of my head. But, yeah, and then besides that, the crews are just finished up with all the down trees from the prior storm we had. We had a lot of down really large trees that fell and just took over the intersection of roads. We pushed those off until we can get to them. We finished that up today. Tomorrow they're gonna help out with the Fiesta Day Crookston setup. We put notices out on cars and worked with Keenan to get the notices out on social media.
I think there was only like 2 cars left. When I drove by, 2 cars left in that area.
Yep, they have until 9 AM tomorrow. And then I'll be working with Darren and see what we can do there. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Michelle, you have anything to report tonight?
Not too much, but I will say that the auditors are coming tomorrow. So the audit is starting tomorrow. We sent them most of the audit papers, a couple sections that we're fine tuning, but yeah, so they'll be here for the next couple days. They're on site tomorrow and Wednesday. Hopefully they won't have to come back on site, and that we'll be able to keep them moving, but exciting, they will be here tomorrow.
Do we have a deadline or an end date we think that the audit will be completed?
Let's see what I mean, I would think by, I'm gonna be conservative and say end of August. I would think we could certainly get it sooner than that. But typically the state gives like a 90-day extension, so September 30th would be the ultimate deadline, but we're not planning to go anywhere close to that.
Good to know.
So,
Thank you for all your work on getting
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, our new city administrator, Jeff, would you like to come up and introduce yourself and?
Hello, Mayor, citizens, members of the council. Family and I got in Sunday the 30th. We unpacked on the 1st, and we're really excited to be here. As Corky had mentioned, originally slated for the 15th, but sitting at home staring at the TV this weekend, I said I just can't do this for another week. So I came in this morning, I had a good meeting with Carrie and met with several department heads today, and Corky and I have had several opportunities to talk, and just really looking forward to becoming a part of the community and moving on, helping out, moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We'll start with Tim. Anything to report?
No.
Laying on the spot or?
Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you. Don?
The Chamber of Commerce is moving forward, I just want to let you know that. And working with the different areas in the city. And I'm just wondering, I have a lot of complaints that are coming through to me. And I'm trying to get them to the best people on the council that needs to know about them. So I got a lot of complaints from the people in the Ward 4 through, and they're talking about cats and dogs, and we're going to be talking about that tonight. And so basically, we need to do some
Medication.
problem solving, I would say, with the Ward 4 people to get them online and so forth. So anyway, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I got one thing for Park and Rec. I got a call last week about the lights not working up at the tennis courts, and branches and trees being in the way of playing tennis, I guess. So I don't know if you've received any calls on that either, or...
I have not received any phone calls about that. Again, I was on vacation last week for the holidays, so
It was never brought to my attention by any staff members today as well, but I'll take a look into it. I'll get,
The report that I had, they say they can hardly serve the tennis ball because there's some trees in the way or something. So I said,
Okay.
well, I'll bring it up and let it go from there. And then the lights, I thought we had a timer on
Yep.
those.
we do. So,
Said it's not working properly.
okay, I'll take a look tomorrow.
Thank you.
Get back.
Hey Jake, since you're already up, I have to come up again. How is the bathroom situation in
The
Wildwood?
bathroom situation, when you heard, it was vandalized, so the toilet was vandalized. The water does run, the power does work. Since then, we've installed a new toilet. And we're looking at finding a different way to put new locks on them and maybe possibly new doors, but I don't have it budgeted for this year, so, that's coming, but yeah,
Okay, and is the water drinkable?
yes. I was down there the day after and I turned everything on, looked at it, everything's fine. It's an old building.
Yeah, no, I get that, but it was like
So-
smelly and had white things in it, so I just wanted.
I checked personally, and
Okay.
then Scott and I looked at it, and we're coming up with a plan to, to make it look nicer down there and things like that at that park, so,
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Clayton, anything?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome new Crookston Police Officer Robert Haugen. And I'd like to thank the Park Department for answering my calls on several mowing issues on city property. Been taken care of. Probably doesn't realize that the city has over 400 acres they have to mow, so it takes time. So I'd like to thank the Park Department for taking care of it. It makes us all look good. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry?
Nothing for me.
Thank you. Christie?
So I was down at the League of Minnesota Cities 2 weeks ago for their annual conference. And it was very productive. I had the opportunity to do a tour of their parks and recs for Rochester, and it was very exciting to see. I think there's a lot of opportunities. Being a smaller city, that necessarily we could implement some of those, but I think that it gave us some opportunity to really kind of think outside of the box as to what we can do for our own town in that regard. They also utilized a lot of the natural grasses that we had talked about. And so I do have pictures of that, Jillian. I know that you kind of had some questions about that. But I think there was like some very specific areas that they utilized that in. So I don't think that's a bad thing if we're really trying to assist our park and rec department as far as the amount of mowing, especially for areas that aren't necessarily being utilized. So that was really interesting. I sat in on the cannabis laws, the most updates. I think some pretty good things are coming out of that. They, I think, have formally created the Office of Cannabis Management now, and they have recently released a new website as well as a handbook on creating ordinances and how to address some of the cannabis issues, which is a pretty big step forward for them. So that I'm hoping that we can kind of dig into a little bit more now that that's up and running for the state. In addition to that, I went to a session on onboarding city officials. I think that's an area that we as a city could do a better job of. Just thinking of my own experience and how I was onboarded, I think it just could be a good thing to kind of help them really kind of get the ropes and not feel maybe as kind of a fish out of water, if you will. So I have some information on that as well. And then the last one I went to was really on creating community and what that means and how that can be more inclusive. And so I'm excited about that. I feel that some of the examples that were given for various cities were pretty great. I also think that our Fiesta Day Crookston is actually going to be something I would say we could model for other events going forward. The CVB, we didn't meet, but we did vote on a couple grants for some upcoming events. I would say, in talking, Keenan, about are we utilizing the voice app for some of our events and things like that? Because I know that's something that the CVB had invested in, hoping that would be another place for people to get information about what's going on in Crookston. And I would say that what's different about the voice app versus our website is this is more for people who are not necessarily just living here, but also for people who are passing through because it's location based. And so if they're like killing time between like a volleyball game or a hockey game, that they can look on there and see what's going on in town. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I think that the Community Voice app is definitely a really great resource that we should be utilizing. In fact, I'm utilizing it to the best of my ability for the city of Crookston side of it. So for example, they have locations where you can put up meetings and agendas and stuff like that. And when we have events that purely the city of Crookston is hosting, so like the one event recently that I put up there was the Section 8A baseball tournament. So I'm using it as, you know, as far as the representative for the city of Crookston on the app. And then whenever we are talking to like different food truck vendors or any other community organizations that are putting on events, I'm always encouraging them to be able to put their events on there. That's not necessarily my place to go and put those events on there for themselves, but I'm definitely encouraging people to do that. We just had a food truck vendor come into City Hall the other day and I gave them all the information to be able to put their event on there. So I'm definitely doing the best I can to get the word out for it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then on that note, with DCDP and the Fiesta Day Crookston, just to kind of reiterate what Kenyon had said about that, I think it's a really great opportunity to kind of celebrate some of the cultures in our city. They're gonna have vendors, they're gonna have food trucks, music, so it's a great event, and I really encourage everybody to come. The last thing I just kind of wanted to talk about was just my impression of being at the League of Minnesota Cities. And I don't know if we have, as council, understand how on the map Crookston is right now. And I think that it's very encouraging and it was pretty impressive. We had met and talked a little bit about the climate and pollution reduction grant. And Crookston's the only rural city that's been included in the state of Minnesota for that grant to be considered by the federal EPA funding. And so that's kind of a big deal. I mean, little old Crookston, 7,500 people, is being considered as part of that. And I think that part of the reason that we're being considered is really just the relationships and alliances, the work that the EDA is doing. And within creating that, they've also been working with Fresh Energy CERTS, the region's Sustainability Development Partnership in Otter Tail. And that has also kind of propelled the opportunity for some other grant writing in Power Crookston, which has become this partnership between these groups. So that's been really exciting to see and getting to meet some of those individuals who are part of that. We also had the opportunity to talk with the Assistant Commissioner for Division of Energy Resources. And one of the things that we had talked about here is focusing on Ward 4 and 5 as far as the weatherization. But what we were finding as a barrier was that in order for them to be weatherized, a lot of times they have to be functionally sound, meaning that they can't have cracks in the foundation and all those things. Well, there's new funding, and speaking with him at lunch, that they are going to have funds available for pre-weatherization, which means that we can have those come up to code in those wards, then which will allow them to then be able to apply for that weatherization funding. So that was really exciting as well. I'm not sure if there's anything else that we had. We met with some of the leadership from the MPCA as well to talk through some of that, and that was really great. The last thing I would say is that we also are working again with the Masonic Institute of the Developing Brain. And a lot of the things that they focus on are really utilizing urban planning to create the growth for individuals, no matter what age they are. And I think there's some really great opportunities for IIJA funding to help with specifically the MnDOT corridor study and how we could actually provide more funding to create a better option or look for those corridors and that would be funding outside of the city needing to pay. And so I'm really excited to have them come on board as we start to really design those corridors. So that would be all I have.
Thank you. Wealth of information.
Thank you. Thank you, Krista.
Morgan, anything?
Nothing much, just first wanted to welcome Jeff, and we're very excited to have you here, and glad that you've made it safe. And as that transition happens, I'd like to thank you, Corky, for all of your time and everything that you've done for the city and for our community. It's been a lot, so thank you very much for that. And on that same note, I'd also like to thank the Crookston Police Department. I know there's stuff going on, but you guys go out every day, and I'd like to thank you guys for everything that you do, and I hope that you pass that on, that I appreciate that from them, so. And that is all I had.
Thank you. A few things here. I would like to thank, I'll probably pronounce the name wrong, this Nora Berg for her donation to Kids First Park and Rec. And also the American Crystal for their donation to the Crookston Police Department. That was a nice donation. Christie touched on it. I would hopefully attend the Fiesta de Crookston tomorrow night. I think it looks like a neat event down there. This Matt Henson from Channel 8, he was in town when we had that incident here, and he had nothing but, he did his editing down at the Crookston Library, and he pretty much said it was a great place to do it. Staff was very helpful, friendly, so I just want to put kudos to the city library. And then finally, Corky, I'd like to thank you for your time. You came in at a trying time. Your wealth of information, your knowledge, it was very, I am kind of lost for words here, but I just can't thank you enough for stepping up when we were kind of in a mess looking for another city administrator. I wish you the best. Hope you still stay involved, so thank you.
I'd like to give Corky a hand.
Would you like to add anything, Corky?
Well, I want to thank you all for your help. It was a really bad time when we took over. And this has been a godsend of a council, actually. We were in a bad way. And all of the people here, the department heads that I've been fortunate enough to call, I hired. You guys are a great crew, and I know you're gonna do really good things. Yeah, this is my last meeting, but I was really fortunate to be able to step in when I did, because this is my town.
Yep.
And so thank you for that opportunity, and I will be involved.
Thank you, Corky.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corky. Just a reminder, there will be a Ways and Means meeting tonight, so nothing else to come before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, which. But he doesn't have nothing to do with it, does he? Is that?
Okay.
I can talk.
Okay, we'll call the Ways and Means Committee meeting to order for Monday, July 8th, 2024. We've got 4 items on the agenda. And we are going to start with the Ward 5 council member interviews. We'll start with Wendy first. Derek, you'll have to excuse yourself, and we'll let you know when you can come back in.
Do you just want to put a little brief? Did you want
And what this involved is, we did send out publicity.
Right up here, Wendy.
We did send out publicity to various websites, our site, KROX, indicating that anybody who is interested, please let us know by June 28th at 4:30. Wendy did that and continued to express an interest in this position. We received a call at City Hall today afternoon from Derek Brecken saying he wanted to be interviewed. First time we'd heard of him. So I bring it to you. I understand it's a consensus you want to interview him as well. So that's why we did it this particular way. Does that make sense?
Is he here?
He's here. That was
Yeah.
Derek. He was the guy that just left. So,
Okay, we have a series of questions here. They're really informal. We'll just get moving here. First one, tell us about yourself and why are you interested in this position?
Well, my name's Wendy, and I've lived here in Crookston for about 10 years now. I have 4 children, ages 22 to 5. So I have the range. I have one at the high school and one at the grade school, and then one just got out of kindergarten. So we're doing all the fun things, the high school sports and the kindergarten graduation kind of things. And I guess when I saw this come open, well, I should go back. I was actually on the interview committee when Joe accepted the Ward 5 spot. So I had a little bit of exposure and interest after that. And when it came open, I just thought it would be a good opportunity to do something else, to be involved in our community and speak for those in our community.
Thank you.
When did you see your last name?
Alt.
Alt.
A-U-L-T.
Okay.
In your experience, what is the key to developing a good team?
Communication is probably the number one. You gotta be able to talk to each other and not take things personally, remove the emotion.
Okay. Describe an experience in which let me do that again. Describe your experience in which your ability to work well with others and reconcile differences help your company or employee.
So I've been in human resources for about 14 years now. My job really revolves around solving problems and resolving conflicts. So it is something that I do on a pretty regular basis. Again, just, you probably hear me say this a lot, but helping people learn how to communicate effectively is what has got me this far.
Thank you. What unique characteristics do you think you could bring to the Crookston City Council?
Well, I think my experience in different work environments will help in some ways here. I do have some knowledge about hiring and employment laws and that kind of thing. Also, just being able to talk to folks on all different levels and backgrounds and walks of life.
Thank you.
Also, you'll always see me with a smile. It's pretty rare I'm not smiling.
Provide an example of a time when you were able to demonstrate excellent listening skills. What was the situation and outcome?
It's a probably kind of repeat answer for you. It's a daily occurrence. If it's an employee or another supervisor or manager, you really have to sometimes just listen and absorb what folks are saying so that you can really give them a good answer or good direction.
Thank you. Provide an example when your ethics were tested.
So, not so long ago, I don't know, I work in Boston, Minnesota, and in Boston, there is a grocery store which also has a bar in it. And I went up to get a coffee, there's a Caribou also, I went up to get a coffee, and two of my employees were sitting at the bar while they're supposed to be at work. And so, of course, I handled the situation, but at the time, they were like, oh, please don't, we're just on a coffee break. And it was kind of tough when you've worked with people for so long and you have a relationship with them. And it was like not a battle of right and wrong, but it was kind of like a moment of, oh man, I really, really don't want to do this to you, but I have to. It definitely affected me for a long time after that.
Okay, thank you. How do you balance cooperation with others and independent thinking? Share an example.
When you work with a diverse group like I do, you all have different ideas and you're not always going to agree. So I can think of several different examples, but certain things I do for my employees, cooking meals for them once a month, that kind of thing. Not everybody is in agreement that I should be spending money to do that for the employees, but we sit down and we talk about it, and ultimately I think you just have a backbone, and if you disagree, that's okay, but then just commit to the decision.
Thank you. How much experience do you have serving on boards, directors, management committees, or other governing bodies?
So for about 1.5 years, I was the co-chair on a board of directors here in Crookston for a daycare center.
Okay. What is the key to success when communicating with the public?
That's a good question. I think you have to be honest, but also, choose your words carefully so that the correct message is conveyed.
Thank you. Okay, in closing, I want to thank you for your time, and then I want to invite you if you have any questions for us.
I don't.
Okay?
Are we
So,
allowed to ask any questions?
Oh.
Well, if we do, we have to ask them to the next candidate.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. What do you feel is the top 3 priorities for Crookston?
That's a good question. I'm pretty hot on this garbage topic, actually. Because I moved here from Grand Forks and I always have my garbage picked up. So to come here and either have to buy bags or take it to the transfer station was an adjustment for me. So that is kind of hot on my list right now. Number 2, I think, is drawing more people into Crookston. The thing that stands out to me the most is Ox Cart Days. It is so much fun and draws so much traffic to Crookston. I just think it's really important that we keep doing those kinds of things. And then myself personally, I guess it would be to make sure we have a safe city.
And then my last question is, what is a vision, or what is your vision of Crookston?
I want my children to raise their children here. So I think, I'm looking forward to a safe, beautiful place for them to raise their children.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you, Wendy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right up here, Derek. Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, even though I got my name in a little late.
Okay, tell us about yourself and why you're interested in this position.
I'm Derek Brecken. I live up on Crescent Avenue. I farm south of Crookston. I have a couple boys that are 7 and 10 and busy with sports. I just kind of have a knack or an urge for helping others. I've been in the National Guard since 2008, on the Crookston Firefighters Association since 2011. Just like being able to help others.
Thank you. In your experience, what is the key to developing a good team?
Communication. Everybody being on the same page. Get mixed messages, or some people know some stuff, some don't. It just causes confusion and rumors, and not good for the situation.
Okay, thank you. Describe an experience in which your ability to work well with others and reconcile differences help your company or employer.
I'd like to say I do that every time I go on a fire call, is because we're all firefighters and we all think we're right and we all have the right way to do things.
Okay, thank you. What unique characteristics do you think you could bring to the Crookston City Council?
I think my biggest thing that I look at is being able to look at any situation from different angles. Whether it be firefighting or farming, my job there's no right way to do something. There's no A to B. You might be in the same situation more than once and do something completely different to get the same result.
Okay, thank you. Provide an example of a time when you were able to demonstrate excellent listening skills. What was the situation and outcome?
Definitely my kids every day, at their ages. They complain a lot, so you gotta listen and pick out and find what the main problem is, not just I'm hungry, I'm bored, I'm whatever. There's something else going on, and getting to the bottom of that.
Okay, thank you. Provide an example when your ethics were tested.
That's a tough one. I've had a lot of different things go on in my life, and I've always done the right thing, even if it's gonna get me in trouble or be a negative outcome for myself.
Okay, thank you. How do you balance cooperation with others and independent thinking? Share an example.
I think when you're brainstorming or you're trying to come up with ideas, I've always been told no idea is a stupid idea. You gotta listen to everything. Don't get stuck on your idea and get tunnel vision and just wash out everybody else's say. And
Thank you. How much experience do you have serving on boards of directors, management committees, or other governing bodies?
I've been on the board of the Crookston Firefighters Association since 2014. And before I went back farming, when I was working at Crystal Sugar, I was the union president for about a year.
Okay, thank you. What is the key to success when communicating with the public?
Transparency. I've had a handful of reasons that I've had to call down here in the past, and I've always been very happy with the service I've gotten and the department heads saying how it is.
Okay, I'd like to thank you.
We have 2 more questions.
Yep.
Morgan's got some questions.
What are your top 3 priorities for Crookston?
My first one would be more recreational space, bike trails, not necessarily like playgrounds, but different opportunities in the outdoors. Second would be one of the issues, I guess, that I've had brought in the past is we've always had this beautification of Crookston, putting more effort into our green spaces and making things look nice. And the third would definitely be getting more business opportunities. We kind of seem to have lately anyway, the last handful of years, a revolving door. If something tries to come in and it can't make it work, and then it's gone.
What is your vision for Crookston?
Make it better every day and make it somewhere where my kids won't want to leave when they grow up.
Okay. Derek, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Well, decision time.
I have one question. Corky could probably answer this question with.
Yeah, they can come back in. You got, Derek, Wendy, you're more than welcome to come back in.
Them being a firefighter, the fire department, is there any?
There is a potential for a conflict on that issue, could be resolved by not participating, removing self from any discussion you have. Because yes, you'd be voting on a contract potentially for the firefighters.
Okay. But he would just abstain from doing that if.
Certainly could be.
Yeah,
Recuse himself.
Excuse himself.
Excuse himself from any discussion, not even, and not just voting, but any discussion whatsoever.
Good, thank you.
But being part of the association is not a conflict of interest, is what you're saying?
I don't think being a part of it is.
Holding a position of leadership?
No, I don't know if he's on the board there or.
I guess that's a question.
Yes, I am.
Tanner, thoughts?
My guess is that the offices are not incompatible, and that's the only analysis that we have to make. There's specific statutes that say whether an office is incompatible. It's usually like city administrator and council member, or city attorney and council member. Those are incompatible offices. But I'm not aware of anyone who is that.
Or a city employee and council member is incompatible?
It could be, yeah.
I believe it's in the ordinances.
It could be, yeah.
I know there was a issue when I was appointed that I could not vote on any, dealings with the Crookston Police Department health insurance.
And that's what I was suggesting about the firefighters. I don't think they're incompatible. And as a firefighter, I'd want to check to make sure, but I don't think you're a city employee.
No. Cause you're with the association, you're not like the city of Crookston Fire Department, yeah.
Right, he's not a fire.
Volunteers.
Yeah,
Paid
no,
on
I know,
call.
I'm more.
Oh, so yeah, he doesn't work for the city.
Yeah, no, I was just, when you're talking about incompatible,
So to answer, I don't think they're incompatible, like Tanner said. In addition, you can excuse yourself from any discussion whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Ready to vote.
I guess we,
Ready to vote.
call for the vote, or?
Should I hand in?
Just want me to go around and ask council members.
I think we should get,
Okay, start with Don.
Who do you want to vote for?
WH,
Pardon me?
Wendy Holtz.
Delane?
I'll vote for Wendy Alt.
Thank you. Tim?
Wendy O.
Morgan?
Wendy?
Christie?
I think both candidates could fulfill the position. I think I would go with Wendy. I just think that her experience specifically in like work environment things and just the conflict and resolution really stood out to me as a strength. So, Wendy.
Thank you.
I'll go with Derek.
Okay. Clayton?
As Jesse said, it's a tough decision, but I think with the experience, I'm gonna go with Wendy.
Okay. Myself, it's a tough decision. I mean, I could almost flip a coin, but I like what Wendy has to offer with, the HR. 15 years. So I'm going with Wendy.
So with that, then we will.
We'll prepare a resolution.
And would you like her sworn in on, or do you need a resolution? When you
I
need a
think we
resolution
could make that
first.
a part of the next meeting and then swear in simultaneously. I'll work with Jeff on that to get that done.
Okay.
Let me ask just real quick, if I do, in the past, when Josh Knapp was up for, I believe, with another, he's on my board. If there's other boards in the city that you would like to join, that would be great, because you have such a heart for the city, so we would invite you to look at the Parks and Rec board, and we have some other meetings, we're working on trails, so I would love to connect with you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think anybody who's interested in being part of the city leadership is always really helpful. And just some of the things that you shared with us today, I too agree with, and having more voices in leadership from our community is really important to us as well. So I'd appreciate you considering that as well. Yeah.
Thank you both. And I wanna, there are, boards coming up at the end of the year. I will keep you in mind, Derek, see if you're interested on serving on any of them.
I'd also like to remind everybody that Wards 5 is open for election as well. So the candidacy filing starts July 30th. So that is still an opportunity for you to be able to run for that ward as well. So this is just to fill the unexpired.
And the unexpired, it expires when?
The December 31st.
Just so you're aware.
So yes, so that is still an opportunity for anybody that still would like to run for Ward 5.
All right, thank you both for filing, or interested in serving on council, I should say. Okay, moving on. Animal control discussion.
Okay, what you all asked in response to a citizen who expressed some concern about the animals in the city. Chief Selzler and I have met on a number of occasions to review ordinances, to review possibilities, and the chief put together a summary of the items that we have discussed at, I'd say, considerable length.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like I'm overdressed for Ways and Means here.
You look good, by the way.
Well, thank you. I only get to wear the coat a couple times.
Might as well.
Might as well. Yeah, like Corky said, obviously from some citizens' concerns, we put this together. You know, and I think there, you know, could be more research done before any final decisions are made. Again, we prepared this a couple weeks ago, and with the holiday and things that came up, this is the product we put together. It got a little lengthy, I apologize for that. And I'm not gonna go through everything frame by word, I'm just gonna go through the summary. But in the memo that I prepared, and like Corky stated, I kind of went through 5 cost options for the city. We did like a seasonal, part-time, and full-time animal control officer, hiring an animal control company to trap and impound, and this was more specific to cats, is how we prepared this. If I recall, you know, there was some talk about dogs, but I'll just be honest, I mean, my 21 years of the city, I don't think we have a problem with dogs, you know. And I do have some statistics from, you know, past years of impounding animals, and we have probably over 90%, if not higher, rate where the owners come and reclaim or claim their animals. So, and then hiring a company to trap and release the cats back into the community, which is, there's some studies done on that, and they show how that can be productive. In a way, it kind of seems counterproductive, but at the same time, those are the options. So the first few pages are obviously a breakdown of kind of how I came up with those cost options. And then page 4, that's kind of what I'm just gonna go through on the summary section, is basically how I came up with, and I'm gonna call it like worst case scenario. These numbers are staggering, I'll admit it, and again, I think maybe through some surveys and different options, we could probably whittle those numbers down or come back with a more concrete number. You know, and the costs are based on that we're assuming that we would impound possibly 100 cats on the low end or 200 on the high end. And it's very difficult to come up with a number, right? That number can be so subjective on how you do that. And talking with some, or one company that we located, and that was the other part too, is difficult to find companies that would actually come in and do that. Most are pest control, you know, ants, crickets, etc., spiders, but to actually come in and trap animals, that's pretty a unique service. But the individual we were talking to, he said, you know, if you think you have 30 feral cats, you have 200, you know, and so I just kind of tried to round some numbers, and again, these are subjective, I know, but kind of going off the information I have, this is how we came up with it. So the first option would be hiring a seasonal animal control officer. Again, that's detailed on page 4, and the total cost, and if you have any questions, please just throw them at me. I'm just gonna kind of, I don't have a lot to go over here, but the total cost between wages, animal impound fees, vet services, some startup equipment is about $21,464, as you'll see in that summary. The second option is hiring part-time animal control officer. That starts on page 4, goes to page 5. Same thing, detail on wages, animal impound fees. You know, vet services, I did that at a 20% rate, just assuming that's about what we probably pay now, about 20%. I mean, and again, that's a little subjective. Animals go in and we have an agreement with the main site that will pay up to $100 in vet services upon our approval for any animals. So it's just can be assumed, obviously, right, that these animals, some of them might need some veterinarian care. Again, that with wages and everything came out to $41,370. Obviously, with the seasonal and the part-time, there wouldn't be any benefits included with that outside of the state mandated sick leave or whatever, but I mean, that would be minimal cost to the city at that point. And the third option, that'd be hiring a full-time, and that starts as detailed on page 5. You know, that would be wages, including benefits, the impound fees, animal impound fees, vet services, and equipment. Comes to about $80,469. And how I came up with that, how Corky and I kind of discussed that, is I just kind of went on the low end tier of the AFSCME union contract and started at the, it's basically the lowest wage we currently are paying on that. Just a number to use, which if I recall in the first sections, I think it was $21 and change. $21.45 is the hourly rate that we figured for that. Obviously, seasonal part-time would not be a union employee. If they're full-time, obviously, they would probably fall under the AFSCME contract someplace, somewhere along the line. And then last options, and you know, I guess I'll just reiterate a little bit more on that. If we were to consider hiring someone, whether it be seasonal, part-time, or full-time, you know, I think it would be, I think the actual title that would be wise to consider that would be a community service officer instead of an animal control officer. Obviously, that would be a certain percentage of their job, but you know, while you're waiting for traps or checking traps or different things associated with that, a lot of research that I did with a lot of other cities, a community service officer, that's a non-licensed police officer, obviously, right? But in other cities, same size, smaller and larger, they help manage social media, you know, parking enforcement. Parking enforcement is always a hot button topic in the city of Crookston. You know, years ago, we used to have a parking enforcement person that we hired every year in the summer to help with that. You know, community outreach, crime prevention, evidence, mental health. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could have them doing in between when they're not actually doing animal control. And then I said the last part of that is kind of two-pronged. You know, hiring a company to come in and do the animal control for us. The first option is hiring a company to trap and impound the cats and hope that they're adopted or rehomed. And, you know, talking to the Humane Society and another company out of Fargo, it sounds like there is a pretty high demand for feral cats or cats on farms. Sounds like they don't have it's difficult, but there is a place for them. So again, looking at that again, using the numbers that we just kind of came up with, talking to these impound companies, again, between trapping the animals, impound fees, vet services, that's probably $47,800 on a high end. And then lastly, I mean, the second option would be hiring a company to trap, and then what would we do is we'd work with a third party veterinarian service. And again, I think there's companies out there that would do it at minimal cost, or maybe there's some grant opportunities, but currently what the Humane Society is paying right now to neuter or spade a cat is about $150 per animal. So we took that into consideration, because obviously if we're gonna initiate this and work that through, they wouldn't have the budget to pay for that. We'd have to help or work with them on that. Then I think our impound time could be reduced. They say about 2 days before the animal could be rehomed. I mean, that's an expensive number for sure because of the veterinary services and everything in between, but that's about $75,800. So, I mean, I'll just be honest, the numbers were certainly staggering. It's easy to figure out wages. It's a little difficult sometimes to figure out what it would cost us to impound or you know, veterinary service for these animals or whatnot.
Chief, I know since I've been on a council, we've had one person come in and talk about this issue. As a police officer in your department, I don't know where else these complaints might go to. Maybe somebody at the department can say, but how many of these complaints, I mean, is this isolated incidents, or is it a widespread city issue where we have to spend a lot of money?
I can say from the administration point of view, in the 2+ years I've been here, we've maybe had 4 complaints. And we have only had one present here, and the other complaints have said, can you have people look out for the cats that we see? I've not had any complaints on dogs.
I've had complaints on cats, and Don, you were saying Ward 4 was having some real issues now too. I think this year specifically, there's been a bigger uptick in cats in our area.
I mean, I know our budget's tight. We're looking for every dollar that we can. And I'm just wondering if this is something we just table for a while and keep an eye on it and see how things go and continue to do what we've been doing in the past. And
well, we're starting the budgeting process now. It certainly
which is why the conversation's happening.
So I have a question about this, looking at it from a CSO standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
correct? So most CSO positions are typically part-time, is that? Which are like kids in school, no, I shouldn't.
No, this wouldn't be kids in school. This would be adult positions.
No, I mean like typically, from what I've.
That's a community resource officer.
A CSO.
community
Yeah.
service officer.
Oh, okay.
Community service
All right, I was
officer.
thinking like people over at Northland.
I mean, if it was a seasonal or something, I think you could open that opportunity for something like that.
Okay.
You know, and obviously anytime seasonal or part-time, you're gonna, you know, that's a decent wage, but we're gonna have staffing concerns with that. Kind of back to your question, Delane, you know, we get complaints a few times a year. You know, there's a couple areas in Crookston, particularly the trailer parks that do have a feral cat problem. We've talked to some residents at those trailer parks, and they admit that there's a lot of cats around there. Some of them have said things like they think they're domestic cats that are just people that run loose, and maybe they come in the evenings. You know, I took a drive through the trailer parks in different areas. You know, they all have skirting on them, but the skirting in a lot of the areas is in tough shape. You know, so there's holes or it's not securely fastened to the trailer. And I think that's where most of the cats and stuff are living. And even the animal control company said the same. I mean, it's warm underneath there. Obviously, the pipes don't freeze and there's resources and stuff for them to survive. You know, so that would be one. There is city ordinances against that. But I would argue that they're meeting the city ordinance because there is, you know, there is skirting around it, but it's just in bad shape. So I don't know how much you could really, you know, kind of point a finger at that. But to answer your question, I mean, it's like anything. The more you work at it, the more a problem it can become, right? You know, if we do hire someone or a company to do that, I mean, we're gonna probably get the response that's accurate.
I just wonder if, you know, we're a small community and now we hire an outside agency to come around and scoop up everybody's pets. We're gonna have a lot more probably complaints that we've had in the last 4 years of, you know.
Agreed, you know, and some of how the companies work is when they trap an animal, they will not release it back to the person on site. They will impound it and then, you know, it'd be up to us and the Humane Society to work together to find the owner of that if that's an option. You know, we've done some audits over the years of how many animals we impound at the police department. And again, you know, I'll just be honest, you know, it's complaint driven. We kind of take a reactive approach to it. I would say we're animal enforcement, we're not animal control. I mean, for us to be out there trapping these animals at the rates that we pay our union employees would be astronomical on the follow-up. So, but you know, we're anywhere, I mean, currently right now, 150 cats and dogs a year, somewhere in that area that we seize. And again, those are running at large or animal complaints or what that looks like. You know, like I said, over 90% of the dogs are reclaimed. Only about 10% of the cats are claimed. You know, we do create some revenue with animal license and tags and the recovered impound fees. You know, currently last year it cost the city about $17,500 in animal impound fees and monthly fees for boarding at the Humane Society. We recovered about $5,800 of that back through licensing and impound fees of people claiming their animals. So I mean, the hard number that it cost the city last year was, I mean, like $11,700. So
Is there, I don't know this,
sorry, Clayton.
how this gets into the legal factors, but can like the local vets, when you take a pet there, can they require a city license? Is that, I mean, I wanna say one of the other communities I used to live in, when we took a pet to the local vet, you had to buy
Buy it there.
Is that I don't know what the legalities are on that, but to be honest with you, I think 99% of the people that live in Crookston that have a pet aren't aware you're supposed to license your pet in the city of Crookston.
You know, and we've spoken about that before. I think there's homes, this wouldn't probably include apartments, but there's 3,500-ish homes in the city of Crookston, and they say studies have shown about 1.5 animals per household. So if you do the math on that, we should be selling 5,000 tags a year. We sell about 150. And the 150 goes back to the animals that we impound. So,
I think, Delane, I get where you're going with like the vets, but I don't think a majority of people take their animals to vets here in Crookston.
you know, whether it's Crookston or another city,
Well,
right?
So then you also have
I
to
get
say,
it.
is if
It's
that's the case, and we choose to implement that for the one vet in town, like,
Yeah.
are they then being penalized because people don't wanna have to get the licensing in order to do that? So, just something to consider as well.
I think I wish, obviously it's a wish, that any vet would have to have, you know, if you're living in a city, which your address is, you have to have I don't know, but every city doesn't have it, I guess, but anyhow.
I think the other concern here that we're not addressing is the ones that are not pets. And I think that's where the problem really lies, is in the feral cats that haven't been fixed and what have you, and then just continue to proliferate throughout the city. And I think that's the concern that I'm hearing. That's the concern I think that Dawn is hearing, is not the ones that are registered pets. It's the ones that I've like seen an increase. I have like 4 cats now at our house when we had one, and we own no cats. So I think, and I'm not the only one. I've had the concerns in our neighborhood, and obviously Dawn has too.
I guess as far as right now, for where I'm sitting, just for myself, the amount of complaints that we've heard from our citizens versus the amount of money we're looking into putting in this, it just doesn't factor for me right now.
I also hate to say this and be morbid and all of that, but this is morbid. We probably did see an increase in feral cats this year because we had a really mild winter.
Say, Darren, a few years ago, it's probably quite a few years ago, we had a company come in that did trapping, and basically I think they were set up in our trailer courts to collect cats. They would neuter or spade them, and then they would release them.
That's the trap and release program.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, there's a lot of statistics that show that if you have a one-time trap and impound, that they call it a vacuum effect, as you can read in that summary there, where, you know, other animals and cats will just go back into the vacant trailers or areas that they live underneath, decks, houses, etc., because they have the resources to survive, you know. So there's also, you know, arguments out there that you reduce the cat population, you are, you know, kind of curbing that effect a little bit too. So, you know, trapping animals, spade neutering, and then releasing them back into the community. You know, there's things that show that that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know if you're solving that problem for releasing as many cats back in the community. You know, we'd have to really push that public narrative on that, but
the, you know, compared to a feral cat and a domestic cat, they say their life expectancy is what, very short?
yeah, I think a feral cat is in it like 1 to 3 years or something.
Because of their diet.
But I mean, in that time, there's still the ability to have children.
But if
You know.
if you have the trap and release, you know, with that. diminish some of the population.
Sorry, Mary, didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
So if we did this trap and release, would that diminish some of the population?
Well, the trap and release back in would be they'd get spayed and neutered.
Right, exactly.
So you wouldn't, you know, that piece, I mean, there is you could argue that there is a need for some feral cats in this city for pest control, but obviously if they're spayed or neutered, you just hope that population would increase.
I think the problem with that though too at this point, Mayor, is that that's at like on the higher end of cost.
And, you know, unless we could partner with a vet service or something that's willing to, you know, offer for free or minimal cost or something like that.
Could we think of the idea of, instead of us paying for just trying to think outside of the box, again, there's probably some that are feral, but if there's a good chunk that are pets that are also outdoor cats wandering around, like maybe people aren't paying to spay and neuter their cats, but have them, and we as a city could be like, from this time to this time, we will pay to spay and neuter X amount of cats in this area, which then at least it's people's outdoor cats aren't continuing to have 15 baby cats that turn into feral cats.
Try to have a program or something, yeah.
I mean,
Trying to think outside the box.
I mean, could we offer a service where they just come and get the traps, do it themselves, and then turn them in?
We do, we do have that service
Yeah, we
available
already
right
have that
now.
service.
We have probably a dozen different size live traps that people
How
can.
many are being utilized right now?
It's, you know, it's a fair amount. I mean, we have, I wouldn't have a number for you. I mean, you know, maybe a few times a month. A lot of people use them for skunks and muskrats and different things like that, or cats. But yeah, we have about a dozen traps. You can come and just sign out. We don't charge anything for it. Depending on the animal, we'll go and take it from, you know, for the people and either release it back into the wild, depending on what it is, or, you know, impound it at the Humane Society. So.
And also, there is some benefits to having feral cats around. They take care of a lot of them.
Absolutely, and
I think there's a tipping point, wouldn't you say though?
well, and I will say that too, even with the live traps, like we're very, you know, we offer that service, you know, it's something that, you know, is good for the public, but we've had people that have offered to volunteer to try to do something up in the trailer parks, and we just kind of sound bad, but steer away from that. We don't have the budget to pay for it right now. I mean, if we brought in 100 cats, the Humane Society, even if somebody volunteered to do it, it's still gonna cost us $20,000 or something like that, so.
They don't have the capacity to take.
And they don't, and I've spoken to the Humane Society in detail, and it would be difficult, in a one swing, like, you know, you hire a company, they're gonna come in and they're gonna work till it's done.
Yeah.
So they could be here 2 days or 2 weeks, but when they're done, you have that many cats to deal with, you know?
Well, I think there's a strong correlation in the uptick of the number of cats that people are seeing to COVID. And I think, you know, everybody wanted a furry friend to cuddle with during the pandemic. And then they all had to go back to work, and some of them left their cat out and never let him back in.
Don, can I ask, like, where you guys in Ward 4 are seeing most of the cats or most of the complaints are coming from? Because I know that you mentioned, Chief, that it was more the trailer park is what you were
That's where
mentioning.
most of the problems we're seeing right now in the north end mostly.
Where is there other areas that people are concerned about having feral cats wandering around in Ward 4 outside of the trailer park?
Well, they're all over the place. I mean, there isn't any control down there, and the dogs also are a problem down there, so that's in the Ward 4, down in the Ward 4 area, not up in the other hills and so forth.
You know, there would be some obstacles we'd have to overcome, I think, you know, working on some of that skirting of the trailer parks, getting permission from property homeowners, you know, we just can't walk on their properties and do whatever we want, we'd have to partner with them that way. You know, I think some of the costs could go back to the homeowners or owners of these trailer parks. You know, not that it matters much in my opinion. If I was to spin the bottle on one of these scenarios, you know, I think we could, you know, likely do some public surveys and different things like that to get more public input on that, what their opinions are, and I think we would have time to do that if you guys direct me to do that. Before any budgeting, you know, we could try to get some more feedback for sake of time from the last council meeting till now. You know, this is what we prepared. You know, I think it would be, if you look dollar for dollar on all these, hiring somebody part-time. Seasonal is difficult in my opinion. Again, you're just hitting like a 3-month window and then you have the winter months and everything for that to repopulate. If you hired someone part-time, where they could work 3 days a week or something like that, and we could kind of take it, if you want to call it, in waves. Instead of hiring a company where you do 100 cats in 2 weeks, we could kind of, you know, spread that out through the summer or the different months on that. You know, where we could kind of reduce some of those costs or different things where it's not, you know, maybe 20 grand 1 year, we could kind of try to split that up over the course of time. And again, being effective on that, I think you have to have somebody doing it all the time. If we hire a company to do it one time and then we're having a conversation in 2 years from now to do the same thing for another 30, 40, 50 grand or whatever that number is. So that would be my suggestion if the council was looking to do something like that. Would be part-time. I think after year 1, you'd really reduce some of those costs. Obviously, you always have those wages, but I think once you started to impede on some of that cat population, I think that reduction in animal impound and anything like that, I think it would certainly, the cost would be reduced over time. But, I mean, if that was my suggestion on any way to go, I think that would what I would suggest. But I don't disagree with anything that anybody said here. Is it an absolute major problem?
Do you keep track of the wards and where they?
Excuse me?
Do you keep track of where the cats come from?
No, absolutely.
Any of the wards?
Yep, absolutely.
So I think.
We have a lot of domestic cats in Ward 4, and I was down there a few times, and those cats are running around, but they're going back home after.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of the problem is, to be honest with you.
I think getting more feedback from just the residents to know if this is if something that they really feel is a major issue and that's something we should budget for. I also wonder if we can do some type of campaign that talks about the availability of live traps for those who are really concerned about it at their homes. I think, Keenan, that could be a really cool thing to push through on the socials, is like the ability of the city having these live traps available for no cost to do that. That might be another way for us to at least address it initially and then go from there.
Well, Crookston is a real animal-loving community, and I wonder if it's not an opportunity to look into, you know, some sort of volunteer kitty corps or something that would help with, you know.
I don't hate the idea like Morgan brought up either, but maybe we could partner with a Vet Services that does a campaign where between this window, you could bring it, you know, they usually clip the ear on the cat so that you know it's been spayed or neutered. And I agree with you, Chris, you know, on the live trap thing, we can certainly do some public announcement for that. That does come with a cost at times, so.
I think initially though, you know, if we're not gonna hire somebody, I mean, it could be a lesser cost than just getting it out there. And I think especially for those residents, if we just have a small population of residents who are interested or really concerned about it, at least we're providing some type of solution for them in the meantime while we consider this going forward.
I think a survey would be good.
We can
So
certainly.
what was the most expensive option?
Excuse me?
How much was the most expensive option?
Yeah, maybe I got long-winded, I didn't finish that. So, yeah, again, the last option of option 4 there would be hiring an animal control company. We trap the animals, release them back into the community after they've been spayed or neutered. You know, total cost for that on the high end, again, including animal impound fees, veterinary services, and the cost of the animal control company is about $75,800.
So that's if we hired an outside company. If we hired an employee, $80,469 would be the highest.
Full-time.
Full-time.
Correct.
Yeah.
The part-time would be $41,300.
How much was 1 mil?
About $30,000.
How much, what?
1 mil increase
In the levy.
on the
Oh,
levy.
32,000, what?
So roughly,
$1,000.
so the highest option is increasing, I mean, based on last year's information, increase the mill, our levy like 2.5 to
Percent.
the most expensive option.
But again, I mean, if we find that our residents are really interested in that, then I think that's something to consider. And I think that's
sorry,
where the
what?
feedback in this survey would be really helpful for us to educate ourselves on.
Right, well, like I say, we haven't had an outpouring of people coming in saying this is a huge issue. We've had one gentleman come in saying it was an issue.
I had people complain to me, Don's had people complain to him. So you're acting like it's only one person and it's not.
Well,
Like I
then
said,
one
I
of the things.
haven't heard about it, chief, and the administrator hasn't heard of many either, but I get that. A lot of
I just
people
don't wanna
talk to you, so
devalue the concerns that residents have brought
I get
forward
it,
to us.
but
I would like to suggest that we do a survey and let's look at the survey and see what's happening. Otherwise,
And you can always discuss it
yeah,
during budgeting process.
right.
Always.
We'd have some things to work with.
Okay.
So basically, just get the education out there, piece on it, and
I will do that. We'll
And
do
more feedback.
notifications about the traps and we'll, I'll beg Keenan to work with me on doing a survey and we'll push something out that way.
Sounds good.
Perfect,
Report
thank
back
you,
and-
Karen.
Thank you.
thanks, Derek.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're waiting the whole time never to get back to you, sorry. You gotta just jump in, you gotta just yell it out there.
Well, I think it should be a different way of order of discussing things instead of just shouting things out. I personally have 4 cats, not myself, in my neighborhood that are owned by somebody, and it's a constant issue. And I've tried talking to the neighbors, and matter of fact, I'm a car collector. I come into my garage, one of my cars are in there, and there's a cat crawling all over it. And I went to the neighbor and told the neighbor about it, and the neighbor said, well, keep your garage door shut. And it's cats. Spraying different areas of my yard, and it raises Cain with my dog in the house. So it's more than people assume, because a lot of people aren't calling it in.
And I would just say that I would encourage anybody in a situation like that, or where we have known cats or dogs that run at large, or just to report it to us. Those are easy fixes in a way that we can follow the city ordinance and enforce that pretty easily. You know, yeah, we can certainly do that. So those are situations I would encourage anybody to. That's the animal enforcement side, I would say, is easier than animal control for us to enforce that, so.
What strain would that put on the Humane Society?
Well, I mean, same thing, we would impound those and the owners would have to come claim them if they decided to, and, you know, but you have running at large citations that you could issue for that person or something like that. You know, like everything, typically we do a warning the first time and hopefully they get the narrative or we issue them a citation for it and impound their animals, so. There's a cost involved with everything. If you're a good pet owner and your animal's impounded and, you know, it costs you $150 to get out, most of the time people learn from that. Hopefully they don't repeat that, but not everybody gets it the first time either, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
Jared.
Appreciate it, council.
Okay, moving on, alcohol ordinance discussion. Tanner.
Yes, and I will be quick here. First and foremost, stuff, you can disregard the last page of the ordinance. The reason I included that is just so you can compare the language from our current ordinance to the change I made in section 18, which is the restrictions on the issuance. If you recall, some bar owners indicated that they would prefer if you're only eligible for an off-sale license if you are also a holder of a non-sale license. So I included that provision as the highlighted part in section 18. I would note that I did make a one change kind of just by myself, but I did highlight it. It indicates this restriction does not apply to the temporary off-sale wine license, which was described in 9I. That's just like a temporary license, and the way that I picture it is someone wanting to do like a wine tasting or painting or something like that.
Sure.
And I didn't think that we needed to limit that necessarily. The only other change from this ordinance from the previous one is that we included a provision saying that any existing licenses presently held will remain in effect until the expiration of their license. And I guess the other stuff that we've talked about, we need to approve a fee schedule, which I know Ashley has done a lot of research on. I also know that she has done a lot of research on these different types of licenses and what sorts of forms and paperwork she'll need from individuals interested in applying for them.
From an administrative standpoint, this ordinance, if enacted, will create a number of new licenses for which our city clerk would be pleasantly responsible. So there could be an increase in work. We've talked, Ashley and I have about a schedule of fees for these new licenses. We just haven't brought one forward. But if you reach a consensus tonight that this is what you would wish to happen, be on the agenda for next time with a proposed fee schedule for the various licenses.
And one thing to note too, that it is gonna be, unfortunately for Ashley and all of City Hall, they are gonna have to kind of just learn by doing. And I hope that our citizens and bar owners are patient with staff as they learn how to help them apply for these sorts of things.
So I think one of the things as far as like from an economic development standpoint is that I know we've had a couple of people who've been interested in doing a distillery, brewery, brew pubs. So this really addresses a lot of those different licenses, correct?
Yes, it basically includes every type of license that Minnesota currently is deemed to be allowed under Minnesota law.
Wonderful. One other question I just had in looking at this, and I'm just wondering like the reality of it, is for like the raffle, silent auctions and fundraising events that have charitable purpose of wine intoxicating, it says to conduct it. So my question is, if they're giving away wine, is that what that's saying, that you'd have to have a license for that? Because I'm just thinking of like some of the auction or like silent auctions I've been to where different companies will donate, you know, wine or beer or liquor or something, and that they're not aware, like the organizer wouldn't necessarily be aware of what their donation is going to be until like it's there. You know, is that going to be an issue?
I think, are you looking at section 6 there?
Yeah.
So I think they won't necessarily need a license, but they do just need to comply with those requirements, and this is also in state law, but it's notifying the clerk that this is gonna happen.
Right.
And the main reason for that is so Darren can, if necessary, do some enforcement, just so our police department's aware that this is gonna be happening. And then answering those other questions, when it is, where it is, what proves what type of fundraising event it will be, the amount of wine, beer, and liquor awarded as prizes, those sorts of things. Not necessarily a separate license would be needed for that.
Okay.
And we've discussed that. Yes, not a license, but basically a permit or knowledge.
I was just wondering if like it sounds good in theory, but I'm wondering how you implement it, because I can see just having done fundraisers that I know if someone's gonna donate something, but I don't know what it is until day of. And so how do you comply with this if you don't know until they bring their donation that night to be part of the silent raffle? I'm just thinking logistically, like how does that?
I misunderstood your question. Yeah, I get that concern too, having been serving on boards before where they drop off items for donation last minute.
Right.
I don't know. I don't have a great answer to that. I guess we could just remove that section and,
I mean,
or we could just change it to indicate, rather than at least 10 days, indicate something like as soon as possible.
yeah.
Use a lawyer term.
That would make more sense, at least to give them a little bit more leeway if they're trying to comply.
Is everyone okay with that modification?
Sounds good. Yep.
Any other comments or questions?
I mean, I think for all of us, a lot of these sound great, and I think until they're like actually requested or implemented, we're not gonna maybe know what we don't know, right? And so I think, you know, just being open-minded about if we have to revisit these at some point, because maybe something in here doesn't address or maybe inhibits from people from doing what they need to do, that we should also just consider that as well going forward.
And that is correct, yeah, because currently we have 7 licenses that we could currently apply for, and we're going to 14 licenses that an individual would be able to apply for.
And that can always be revisited based on experience. To amend, change, upgrade, yes.
We'll learn.
All right.
All right.
Good job.
Thanks, Tanner.
Thanks, Tanner.
So as I understand it then, with that change on the number of days, we will bring forth,
Revised.
yes. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And then you'd like a fee schedule as well.
Need a fee schedule in there too
Yep,
as
we'll
well?
do a fee schedule to bring forth with it.
Okay, great.
All right. Okay, Red River Valley Winter Shows ground discussion. I think we'll put that in Carrie's wheelhouse.
Chet Bodine from Deed will be joining me on the.
Okay? You get me sick.
Yeah, I'm gonna, yes, exactly.
This won't be a
You can.
long thing. Corky and I, and before I even came on, have been working with a business trying to find a location in Crookston. And we finally have landed on a place that they want. They would like to look at the Red River Valley Winter Showgrounds. So we've been working with them. We've been working with the board of the Red River Valley Winter Show building. And they're willing to sell it. In order to really make this whole package work and to redevelop that corner, we would have to pull together a financial package. And so, Chet, are you on there?
It shows his name.
Yeah, he's on, he's muted right now. There he is.
Hi, Chet. So Chet and I have been working on this probably over a year, back and forth. And with some of our recent decisions, just with the industrial park, there was a consideration of that area as well. With that kind of closing up because of the railroad spur, this door opened again. So I'm coming tonight to ask you for permission to apply for a redevelopment grant from Deed. The project will be completely removing the whole entire buildings as you see that structure there. And the proposed business, there'll be about an $8 to $9 million build-up for that business. They would be looking at basically where the building sits right now, but towards the front of that property. The property includes 21 acres, and there's 4 different, you'll see 4 different lots in the back here. Those 21 acres can be redeveloped into different commercial opportunities for the city. We would look at an easement to come along between the armory and the the bottom of that, where the property is, so that we could develop the west side, let me get my directions backwards. We could develop the west side of the property, the back side of the property into commercial development. It also includes the 10 acres, which is the driving range, and then you'll see 2 acres, 1.37 acres and 1.5 acres. So it's quite an opportunity. It would include, so when they sell that to us, should we choose to do this, that gives us a lot of property to develop this commercial, and that would redevelop that whole corner. It's a hard situation because that building is so iconic and it's so precious to the community, and it was 7 counties came together to work on it, and the board has been so faithful to keep the building, you know, intact and try to keep their mission going. So through this project and working with Curtis Solar, who's their board president, he has said that they will continue that mission in the Crookston area to do what they're doing with families, farms, with the equine industry. So they have plans to move forward with that. We don't own the property. We wouldn't have to own the property unless we got the grant. So if you look at the funding on it, the project estimate between demo and the basic other parts, and this is very much approximately because we have to get exact estimates. We are working on that a little bit. 3.3 million is what we're looking at. Approximately 1.65 million we would request from DEED for the grant. And we've been working with the people in charge of that, with Chet and I have been talking with them over there. And the city would be about approximately 1.65 million upfront. It can be used from a city fund loan or a project or a bond. A TIF would be used to pay back the city fund loan or the bond over the 9 years. And I'm asking tonight just for permission to pursue this. I'd be working with Jeff. I did talk a little bit with him today on it. I'd be working with him and with Chad on this to pull the package together. We would have to have it approved at our 22nd meeting because I would have to submit the grant the following week. So it's kind of quick. I'm asking that you would let me pursue the project, and then we would really go over the details at the council meeting on the 22nd for submission. I would have to mail it off. It has to be there in person on August 1st, so I have to mail it out because they want a hard copy.
Sounds good.
Open questions?
So you have, if we tear down the building, you have opportunities for somebody coming in there and.
We have a committed company, yeah, it'd be about an $8 to $9 million bill that they would put on.
I have to say, ever since we've moved to town, it's kind of been an eyesore out there.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know it's gonna cost a lot, but our city has gotta do something at some point in time to try to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Well, this company is very committed to Crookston, which I really appreciated, and they have other facilities all through Minnesota and North Dakota, and they're a strong business, so I feel like they'll be great community partners, and I really appreciate their patience on working through some of this with me on this as we pursue this. I'm excited about that. I did go to shows there as a kid, you know, so there's kind of that, you know, but in working with Red River Valley Wind Showgrounds, we will help them to redevelop that mission and to continue moving that forward in Crookston. So I'm just asking for consensus, questions, thoughts.
Just question on the 3.3 million. This company that would like to come in, does the frontage road now currently support what they need, or will we be later looking at having to update roads?
I'll have to look at that. We're just getting into the study on it.
Yeah, I think honestly, infrastructure is not something that I would be too terribly concerned about if we can actually get somebody in there that's gonna do what they need to do. But just, I think going forward, just seeing where we can get would be great.
I'd like to just pull the package together in the financial package. We can also look at your question on that road. There wasn't a lot of infrastructure. Go ahead. Okay. On the
So, it wouldn't cut into anything else that you've already, like funds you've already identified for other roads, for other parts of the city, because the funding is specifically tied to the tax revenue that's being accrued by this business.
I would like to make a motion that is.
Consensus.
Consensus.
And what you're asking for is just the authorization to continue to pursue this and presenting it to the council next meeting for the application.
Let's do it. I would agree with that, yeah. I would, before that.
Consensus, everybody good?
Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Hey, Chad, thanks for hanging with me.
Thanks, Chad.
Talk tomorrow.
That's it, man.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, that is it. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.